They just feel the weight on his shoulders. Let's bring in NBA champion and former LeBron James teammate Richard Jefferson for some perspective on this. And first, before we get to what we just saw with LeBron, Richard, I want to ask you, he's 14 points away from passing MJ. What do you think this means within the debate of who is the GOAT between him and MJ?
Well, I think every day, every time something happens, every time there's a milestone, I feel like there's it just adds to the argument of who is greater. But I think it's tough. I think when LeBron's career is over, I think that's when the comparison should really start. You want to look at the entire body of work, just like, you want to look at, MJ's entire body of work. But yeah, there's always going to be, last year there might have been the way he played in the playoffs, leading the team to the finals. That strengthened the argument. This year, team struggling, not making to the playoffs, that might hurt the argument.
So who's greater to you right now? Who's greater to you right now?
Who's greater? Well, I think MJ is still the greatest player of all time. I don't think that there's a doubt. I think LeBron James has worked, tirelessly to put himself in that conversation, and at times, in an argument that could be made that he is greater. But I don't think that conversation is done. I think if we try and do it day by day, moment by moment, I think it'll become difficult.
Yeah, it makes sense. Let me ask you, you saw his soundbite just then. It sounded like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. What did you hear? What did you see? What do you make of his mindset in what you heard there?
Well, I think everyone needs to understand this is uncharted territory for him. The Lakers have been in this spot before where they are struggling to make the playoffs, kind of, uncertainty around the organization. But I think for a LeBron and a LeBron James team, they're typically preparing for an NBA Finals push right now or a championship run. So I think for him, it's just trying to best navigate this situation. And let's put this in perspective. One of his goals is not only just to pass Michael, but it's to pass Kareem. So sitting him down after he's already missed 17 games this year and trying to sit him down for the last 15 games or 12 games, it's going to become more and more difficult to catch a guy like Kareem. So I don't know if his minutes, if he'll be shut down, but there probably will be a minute decrease, but he still has bigger goals than just this season and just passing MJ.
And we know that he has the bigger goals of being larger than life in the entertainment industry, doing other things outside of basketball. But what happens to brand LeBron, the aura around LeBron, if the team keeps losing?
Well, again, we can't look at things by such small sample sizes.
Okay.
I think this man has proven over 14 years of giving back to a community, opening the I Promise school, doing all the different things that he has done within the community. Like all of a sudden, because their team doesn't make the playoffs, we want to question, his brand. I think, yeah, does anybody's brand take a hit if they don't make the playoffs, if they don't play well? Yes. But again, just like MJ, looking at his entire body of work, we don't talk about the Wizards MJ. We talk about the Chicago Bulls. Did the Wizards MJ hurt his brand? You got to look at body of work.
Okay, so want to take a turn here. Kyrie Irving said something very interesting about players and how they feel right now. What's their sort of mental state? Take a listen to this.
I get tired of all this stuff, just like everybody else. So I mean, that's I said it's a constant battle, because media has just gotten outrageous. It makes players very unhappy. Very unhappy, I'll tell you that. I think someone told me that Adam Silver was talking the other day about how unhappy NBA players are, especially nowadays because of just the scrutiny, exploitation that we go through.
Now, you hear Kyrie talking about the unhappiness over the scrutiny. Adam Silver touched on something a little bit earlier this week about how players are unhappy, maybe in some ways touching on the idea that the togetherness isn't always there with the guys in the locker room. I wanted to ask you, what do you see in terms of the difference of what younger players go through in today's NBA versus what you experienced when you first came into the league?
Well, when I first came into the league, I know this is going to date me, but there were no cell phones. There were no camera phones. You could go out and have a drink. You could go out with friends and not have to worry about a random person doing this or doing that. And now it just, you create more of kind of a fishbowl effect. And I understand, and there's been a lot more talk about mental health throughout athletics. And, Kevin Love and DeMar DeRozan have really brought it to the forefront, talking about, anxiety and issues that they've experienced. And I think it was a great conversation for them. But I think Kyrie's another person. He's a very intelligent, introspective individual. And when all of this intention can be thrust, especially when you're going to other cities and other towns and all the questions, it can make it difficult. And one of the biggest issues, and I'll say this, is that everyone assumes that you have everything. You have the money, you have the fame. So you don't even get sympathy from people like, what's wrong? It's just like, no, this is just a lot to handle.
Yeah, not a lot of sympathy, but a lot of scrutiny. Richard, thank you.